Now, I'm going to come out straight away and say that I actually like Joe. Not that I watch his content recently, because I don't really watch any content recently because I've been so busy. But, you know, I've chatted to him once or twice. He's pretty nice to me. I've been on his show once, I believe, very briefly with Max Mura. We jumped on there about a year ago, I think it was, a long time ago. But it looks like he screwed the pooch on this one. I would like to think, I would like to go into this believing that it was a mistake made out of ignorance rather than malice, but we'll have to, you'll have to be your own judge on this one, I suppose. Regretfully, the judge in this case has decided that Joe is ordered to pay $117,636.24. It's a bad time. Not even that. Joe is now part of precedent in the New York district. They're going to be looking at his case for violations of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. It's a bad one. That's not a good look. It's not a good look. But let's take a step back for a second and let's see how he got here, because I've been trying to trace the origin of this story, and it seems like it came from this clip on Alyssa Clips' channel, which is very funny. But if you go down, enhance the comment section, something weird happens. Two parties in a conflict, and the Joe benefited financially. Say it ain't so. And it's like, so people having a bit of giggles here. There's about 187 upvotes on this one. But then there's this weird comment. I think this is the first person. So this person, Paul, I guess 1966, posted, he needs the money. He owes 177,000. Well, actually, I think was it not 177,000? I think it's 117,000. But close enough. Close enough. It's only 60,000 off. Per final judgment signed last week by Judge Roman on the 24th of September in American units, which is very frustrating. He was sued as a lawyer and a debt collector. Ooh, wait, Joe got sued? Yes. Levy v. Law Offices of J. Henry Nierman. This is one thing I want to point out. I've never heard Joe described as J. Henry Nierman, and I thought there might be a lot of debt collectors with the name Nierman from New York. So I decided to try and do a bit of due diligence on this story. And I went through, and as far as I can tell, this is the same Joe. Joe Henry Nierman is Joe Good Logic. If by some chance it's a massive coincidence that this guy is also a debt collector from New York, and I looked at the registrations of the businesses and cross-referenced them with what I know about everything, and it seems like it's the same guy. It seems like it's Joe. But on the off, like on the very small chance it isn't, then I apologize. Levy v. Law Offices of J. Henry Nierman, District Court of New York. And the last was updated October 2nd. But the last filing was September 24th. So this is pretty recent. I don't think there's been any public statement. I very much don't think there will be. Joe has talked about his debt collecting days in the past. And it seems like he's not having a good time. A lot of people criticize Nick, saying that like he's going to get absolutely disbarred based on his actions, but lawyers commit crimes all the time, and it's not really a big deal for disbarment, right? Like if you lawyers doing coke isn't a big fucking deal. Very unlikely to get this. This is the first thing in LawTube that I think would actually potentially warrant disbarment, sending out fraudulent debt collection things. It seems like what happened from me reading this. So so basically, to sum up the story, what happened here is an Israeli immigrant comes over to America. He lives in New York for 20 years. He stays at one apartment for 2 months. During the 2 months he's staying at the apartment, he gets high and gets sent to rehab, basically, or he gets taken into, you know, he's completely coked out, and he gets taken away. He comes back, his apartment's locked, all his furniture's gone, and he's just like, get the fuck out of here, just get the fuck out. So he leaves, and then that was in 2010. He then receives a letter 6 years later from Joe saying, look, there was a court settlement against you. I don't have the case number, and I can't show you this court judgment against you, but you were judged that you owe $8,000 for 2 months rent. And I assume damages of the apartment is probably what was in there. I don't know. How much does a New York apartment cost? I know $4,000 a month probably sounds pretty reasonable. This is 2010 though. So I guess it's like 2 months of rent is what he's trying to sue for. But there's no court case. I can't find it. And it seems like Joe didn't post the thing. So did Joe either send this out because maybe he just buys a bunch of like old debt that hasn't been claimed? There's a lot of debt collectors do that. They just buy debt from people for like you know, a fraction of the actual cost. And they send out as many debt collection notices as possible and hope that a fraction comes back, and that's how they make their money. So is that what Joe did? Or did Joe know this guy, and did he make up this story to try and intimidate this guy into paying this $8,000 worth of debt? The guy now lives in Florida. 6 years later, he's living in Florida. Joe sends him the request for everything. He wants him to bend over and show me everything. And no less, he has to do it in 10 days. It's a cold holiday, and it's everybody's holiday. It's Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, 10 a.m. after Christmas Day. And then the guy says on December 27th, so the next day after day after Boxing Day, so he still takes his holiday, good for him. He says, he's like, rings up Joe, and he's like, look, bro, can you show me where I got this judgment against me? And Joe says, yeah, I'll send it to you next week. He just then ghosts the guy. He doesn't send him any other information. He doesn't give him anything. Joe then goes on to call this guy at odd hours of the night and day, trying to get his money. He's like, I'm going to get my money, man. But he never supplies the court judgment. It seems completely fraudulent, honestly. And this goes on. And then he tries to get dismissed. He doesn't really say anything. I can't find Joe's defense on this. I've been looking for quite a while. But I couldn't find anything that Joe has said about this in either the court documents or on socials or anything like that, or anywhere. So Joe has no defense in the public sphere. But it goes on for 7, 8 years. And then Joe's racked up, this dude, 7 years of emotional damage and 7 years of lawyers' fees. The judge is like, no more appeals, Joe. It's over. You got to pay. And then the judgment comes down $100,000, close to $120,000. That's what it seems like in my point of view. Now, I could be wrong. If Joe has a very good, like if Joe's probably going to come out and say, if he does come out and say this, I assume what he would say is that this guy was a drug addict who destroyed an apartment and he wouldn't pay the landlord. Based landlords, we love our landlords. Landlords are the best people ever. I don't know. Maybe that's what he'll say.